He looked at me and smiled right before he was killed. I'm Dan Stover, a retired Chicago homicide detective. 33 years on the job, 22 of those in homicide. These are real cases told from my perspective. That's what one of 3 offenders told me at Area 2 during his interrogation regarding the murder of Lionel Reed, referred to as the Shoe Man. So it was early during the day of March 17, 2005. Latrice Burns, William Kenlow, Dorwin Davis were at Kenlow's house, and Davis brought up that he needed to get some money. So he says, hey, I want to rob the Shoe Man. I know he always carries a lot of money on his person, and he'll be an easy target, an easy lick, as they like to say, which is a street term for robbery. And all I'm going to have to do is beat his ass to take it. I'm going to take his car. I'm going to take his money. I'm going to take his shoes. Well, Kenlow tells him, I don't think that's going to fly, man. Shoe Man's a big dude. He's going to hold his own, and I don't think you're going to be able to beat his ass. So Dorwin Davis goes and gets their shared gun, which is a .45 caliber pistol. He says, well, I'll take this just in case, just to scare him. Well, that .45 caliber pistol only contained 1 bullet in the chamber, and it had no magazine. Most often guns, when they don't have a magazine seated, you can't fire to 1 bullet. But this gun, you're able to. So he says, I'm going to take this with. They say, hey, let's go our separate ways now. And later on, hey, Latrice, can you come pick us up later, about 6:30 p.m. And then I'll put a call into the Shoe Man. We're going to go do this thing. Latrice agrees. They go their separate ways. So about 6:30 later that evening, again, it's March 17th, 2005, Latrice shows up at Kenlow's house. Out comes Dorwin Davis, William Kenlow. They get into the car, and they start heading toward the vicinity of 95th and State. Dorwin Davis called the Shoe Man and said, hey, can we meet you somewhere around 95th and State? Or I want to buy these shoes from you. The Shoe Man says, yeah, sure, no problem. The Shoe Man sold these shoes right out of the trunk of his car just to help his family, to make a few dollars to take care of his family. Well, these guys thought, yeah, we're just going to take it from him. Well, that's what they tried to do, but didn't go that way, as you're going to hear later in this video. So now they're in the car together. They get to 95th and State. They're driving around. They don't see the Shoe Man around. So Davis says, hey, Latrice, let me borrow your phone. I'm going to call him. Hey, what up, Shoe Man? It's me, Dorwin. I want to meet you. Can we meet maybe 94th and Wabash? Sure. Shoe Man says, sure, I'll meet you 94th and Wabash. So they get into an alley. Latrice pulls into the alley. She extinguishes the lights so as that not to be detected so easily. It's dark out. It's April in Chicago at about 7 p.m. It's dark. So the plan was, I'm going to get out of the car, meet the Shoe Man, discuss the price with him, and then I'm going to give you a call, Kenlow, and you meet up with me over there, and I'm going to say I need $10 more. And you meet me. It's going to cause a distraction with the Shoe Man. So they agree on it, and now, when they get out of the car, they go their separate ways. Davis goes onto 94th Street, where he sees the Shoe Man parked in his car facing eastbound on 94th Street before Wabash. Well, Kenlow must have went through like a gangway between the houses to get out onto Wabash as part of the plan. Dorwin walks up to the car. They go to the trunk of the car. Yeah, that's the shoes I want. How much? And he tells him the price, and he says, "Oh man," he goes, "I'm going to need to get $10 more." He says, "Let me call my guy." So he calls Kenlow. "Yeah, man, I need $10 more. I want to pick up these Nike Air Force One gym shoes. Can you meet me?" He says, "Yeah, I'm not far away. Just pull right out on the Wabash, and I'll meet you there." So Davis tells the shoe man, he goes, "Yeah, can we get in? Let's just pull down the block. He's right around the corner." Okay. They get in the car, turn southbound on the Wabash, and they're parked there. Now, on the west side of the street, there's other parked cars along the street. It's a residential neighborhood. As planned, Davis gets out of the passenger seat of the car, walks over to Kenlow, says, "Hey, can I get that $10? They're talking. Well, that's when Kenlow says, "I looked over at the shoe man. He smiled at me." Little did he know that his life was about to be taken. So Davis makes like he got the $10, goes back, gets into the car. Now he pulls the pistol, announces the robbery. Now there's a struggle, and Dorwin squeezes that trigger, puts a bullet right through the right side of the shoe man. It travels through, exits his left side. With that, Davis bails from the car. He's got the shoes, he's got the gun, and the shoe man, in a panic, accelerates off. Now he's southbound, he's striking cars, parked cars. Finally, boom, he comes into the side of a garage near the corner. It's like a T alley there. And the car comes to rest. It's a brick garage. People are calling the police. They heard the shots. The car just crashed. So Kenlow and Davis now are running. Davis hands the shoes off to Kenlow as they're running. They get to the alley where Latrice is sitting and waiting. She says during questioning that, "I see them come running. They're carrying the box of shoes. I unlocked my door so they can gain entry, get in." She says, "What happened?" And, "Dude, they're shooting, just go." So she speeds off. Well, lo and behold, two Chicago police officers not far away witnessed originally when the car pulled into the alley. It was a Grand Am. I'll never forget it. It was a white Grand Am. Pulls into the alley, extinguishes the lights, and they see these two guys get out of the car. Doesn't look right. Something's not right with this. Moments later, they hear the gunshot, and they see these same two characters come running, get back into the car, and speed away. Well, as it's speeding away, they could see that there's a female now that's she's the driver of this car. So they pull out from Wabash, they pull out onto State Street, they're northbound. The police, being the good cops that they are or were, they get on the radio, they say, "Hey, this is what we just observed. Cars fleeing northbound, hitting out onto State Street." Well, responding units end up stopping that car around 91st and State Street. And that area runs parallel to the Dan Ryan Expressway there. And there's the train tracks in the middle that serves as the red line, the Chicago Transit Authority red line. They put the stop on the car. During the time that they're fleeing from the scene, Davis tells Kenlow, "Here, man," he tosses the gun back to him. He says, "Open that back armrest. It folds down. Throw this in the trunk." He does it. Kenlow throws it into the trunk. Police stop him. Now they're learning that a man had been shot over on Wabash. Put two and two together. They end up recovering the gun and recovering the shoes. Boom, all three under arrest. Subsequently transported to the offices of Area 2 Detective Division. That's where I worked. My partner, Tim Murphy, and I, that's where we worked. So we respond, we process the scene. When we're examining the vehicle, the victim's vehicle, we observe a bullet hole in the B pillar of the car. on the driver's side. The B pillar is the section between the front door and the back door. It usually has plastic there up above. The seatbelt comes out of it. Well, the bullet hole. So it traveled through the shoe man, tore him up inside, goes through his left side into the B pillar. We request that the forensic investigator recover that. He photographs just as it is, the hole in the plastic. He removes that plastic, and sure enough, inside at the bottom is the bullet. Recovers that bullet, actually in really good shape for what it had just done. It's able to be tested, and the fired cartridge case inside the vehicle. Forensic testing later by the scientists proved that that's the bullet that went through the shoe man, and it was fired from that cartridge case. Now we have the gun upon arrest, have it all tested. That is, in fact, the gun that fired the bullet that killed the shoe man. Comes into play at trial later. So after we process the scene, we end up getting to Area 2, and we're going to further this investigation. We're going to talk to the three of them, interrogate them. Latrice Burns tries to come off dumb, like, I don't know, I didn't know they were going to do all that. But it comes out that, she was present during the planning of the robbery. I don't think any of them really thought that it would turn into a murder, but that's the problem. When people think this is going to be easy and it's going to be, we're going to beat his ass, or we're going to produce a gun and scare them to take their stuff. They think that it's going to go easy. Well, a lot of times it doesn't. It goes bad. And that's exactly what happened in this situation. So do I think that they knew Dorwin was going to shoot and kill this guy? No. But let me tell you something. When you put a pistol in somebody's face and you demand their property, it's the squeeze of the trigger away from becoming a murder. And that's exactly what happened here. Shoe man resisted. Dorwin squeezed that trigger. Shoe man's dead. So we also performed at Area 2 what's called a gunshot residue test. And that's a kit. It's usually administered by a forensic investigator. And what it does is it detects if there's any gunshot residue on a person suspected of firing a gun on their hand, on their clothes. And the way that works is when you squeeze that trigger, the primer hits the cartridge case. The cartridge case is the gold part of a bullet. And at the top of that cartridge case is the actual bullet. So when the firing pin strikes, it causes an explosion, if you will, to happen inside that cartridge, which makes the bullet fire out. So with that, you ever see in like movies and stuff, you see the smoke. Well, that's gunshot residue that's coming out. It's usually going to come somewhere around the person's hands and hair. If they got two hands up, maybe both hands, but for sure in hair. It's not 100%. Sometimes if you don't do it in the right amount of time, it can dissipate. They could be wiping their arms. If sometimes they'll go into police custody, I got to use the bathroom. They know what they're going to do, and they'll actually urinate on their hands. I've seen that happen. They'll urinate all over their hands. They'll maybe wash their hands if the police aren't paying attention. They get water on it, then it's gone. So it's imperative not to let them be able to do something like that. And in this case, we performed the test on Dorwin Davis and on William Kenlow. Guess what? The test proved positive on the hand of Dorwin Davis. Why? Because he's the one who fired that gun and killed that man. It's placed into evidence, and it comes into play at trial down the road. So after putting the case together, we request charges from the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. An assistant state's attorney responds, reviews all the facts of the case, and they decide whether or not charges are to be placed on anybody, if anybody, relative to the case. And in this matter, all three were charged with the murder of Lionel Reed as well as the armed robbery of Lionel Reed. Some of you may be saying, well, how did Latrice Burns get charged with this? She didn't do nothing. Well, yes, she did. She knew what they were going to do. Like I said, maybe she didn't know he was going to kill, but knew that this was about to be an armed robbery. He was being set up. She extinguishes the lights on her car as she pulls in the alley to try to reduce the amount of people paying attention to her car. She sits there and waits. They come running back. They have the shoes. After she hears a gunshot, she unlocks the door so they can get in, and she takes off. Guess what? You may as well have went and pulled that trigger yourself, Latrice. Same with William Kenlow. He's part of the distraction, part of the plan. Let me show up, make like I'm giving him $10, and we're going to take a shit, and that's the end of it. Well, guess what? You, William Kenlow, just as well went and squeezed that trigger yourself, because there's something in Illinois law that says you're legally responsible for your actions if during a plan such as this, you partake in that plan. Everybody's culpable. Everybody's culpable that's involved. And they were ultimately convicted of that. So, lesson to be learned here, once again, be careful who you hang around with. Be careful who or what your friends are about to do. You lay down with dogs, you get fleas. They could have easily told Dorwin, you want to rob the shoe man? Go right ahead. I'm not going to have any involvement in that. I'm not going to pick you up in my car. I'm not going to be part of this plan. I'm not going to sit there as a getaway driver. I'm not going to get out and go through the gangway to get out on the Wabash and make a distraction like I'm giving you $10. None of that. They could have easily said that and put Dorwin on his own, but no. So now they're doing a huge part of the rest of their life in the Illinois Department of Corrections, as they should be.